Delving into the mysteries of the lands between, we find ourselves captivated by its intricate stories, kept just out of view and obscured from understanding. The ever-unfolding tapestry, where the broad strokes are largely in agreement, but the details become smoke the closer we attempt to examine them. Among these mysteries, one figure stands at the center, the Gloam, not today, Queen Marika, the Eternal. Shrouded in enigma and the driving force behind the events of our story, Queen Marika's influence can be felt in every waking action of the Tarnished and their quest. Even the most learned scholars of the lands between can only grasp at fragments of the grand design in which they are ensnared. Over the course of 5 videos, we will attempt to unravel the overlooked details surrounding the one true God of the Golden Order. With the release of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, we are offered a glimpse into Marika's humanity through the journey of Mikola the Kind and his attempt to embrace the whole of it. Through this lens, we begin to see Marika not as the divine figure of myth and legend, but as a being bound by her own struggles, capable of making mistakes, following ambitions, and faltering to love. One of the unifying threads woven throughout the lands between is the bond between man and stars, the fates above. The very name of the great Erd tree, derived from Erd of Norse mythology, whose well is a gathering place for the Norns to portend fate, illustrates this relationship and how prevalent its influence felt. It should come as no surprise, then, that even Queen Marika is subject to the designs of fate. But what exactly is the fate of Queen Marika? In searching for answers as to the designs of fate and its presence in the lands between, we are drawn immediately to the item descriptions of starlight shards and amber starlight. The descriptions read, "An ephemeral silver that gives off a pale blue glow, what remains of a passing flash of starlight, a prized item that was once used in the Eternal City as an ingredient in intoxicating draughts," and "an ephemeral silver that gives off a pale amber glow, what remains of a passing flash of starlight. If the stars command our fates, then amber-hued stars must command the fates of the gods. Such is the belief that inspired the use of these shards to prepare a most special draught, cannot be consumed by mere humans." If the item descriptions are to be believed, the inhabitants of the Eternal City, suggested to be Leyndell by Tarnished archaeologists, video link below, used these glimpses of fallen fate to create alchemic concoctions not unlike Selen's amber draught, suggesting a fascination with the manipulation or portending of fate itself. The stars command our fates, but is it possible for a mortal or even a god to change their stars? While the stars might bind the fates of all, one figure attempted defiance and imposed will upon the chaos, Star Scourge Radahn. Radahn, described by Blythe as keeping Ranni's fate in stasis, is tied to this struggle of predestination. The telescope item description illustrates this tension. During the age of the Erd tree, carrion astrology withered on the vine. The fate once writ in the night skies had been fettered by the Golden Order. The conquest of the swirling constellations in the skies by Radahn did not defeat fate. It merely halted its advance, leaving the stars, and the destinies they dictate, in stasis. Yet, as a carrion, Radahn's own fate would have been guided by the very stars he conquered. Could his defiance itself be fate, culminating in his eventual defeat at the festival, hosted by Jaren and championed by the Tarnished of no renown? This struggle against fate is not unique to Radahn, but appears throughout many of the stories in the lands between. From Blythe's tragic loyalty to Ranni, to Melena's determination to confront fate in her traveler's clothes, to Mikola's experiments on unalloyed gold to cheat fate, the characters of the lands between illustrate the gravity of fate's presence. Mikola the Kind and Princess Ranni, in particular, exemplified this resistance, demonstrating how far one might have to go to carve their own path free from the stars above. Perhaps fate's grip is not as absolute as it seems. But the sliver of hope in defying it creates a tragic reality for those that simply wished for things to turn out differently and were crushed by its deterministic power. The journey of Mikola is one of many setbacks. His attempts to overcome fate are ultimately thwarted by forces beyond his control. Even the power of unalloyed gold, a tool he devised to defy destiny and remove the influence of the gods, could not succeed without removing time's influence, the influence of causality itself. Thanks to the translation efforts of 2-Bit Broker, linked below, we understand that Mikola sought to overcome the original sin, described in Japanese as the flow of causality. This fundamental law not only hindered unalloyed gold's potential, but remained the barrier that trapped Melania in her fate of becoming the goddess of rot. Mikola's Halig tree, once a symbol of his continued efforts in escaping the designs of fate and fingers, fell short of its promise and ended in the manipulation of Moog and his dynasty, wielding their ambition for the sake of Mikola's own. Where Moog envisioned glory in taking Mikola as his consort, Mikola endured these hurdles for the dream of an unalloyed age of kindness. As Needle Knight Leda explains in the Shadow of the Erd Tree story trailer, and so kindly Mikola would abandon everything, his golden flesh, his blinding strength, even his fate. This statement, emphasized by the illustration of his divestment of Trina, reinforces the lengths he would go to escape his fate and role as an Empyrean. From the earliest versions of Elden Ring 1.0, we are given glimpses of Mikola's being referred to as a woman, with Mikola's destiny becoming clearer when we consider his unique status as the only male Empyrean. Empyreans are tied closely to themes of creation and childbirth, roles traditionally associated with motherhood, a divinity unto itself. This detail suggests that Mikola, in following the will of his 2 fingers, was meant to become Trina, completing a metamorphosis in line with the expectations of an Empyrean. Yet, instead of surrendering to his destiny, Mikola used the limited freedom afforded to him to resist. His failures, many attributed to his so-called curse of nascency, only deepened his resolve to challenge the overwhelming power of causality. In stark contrast, Queen Marika, his mother, provides a cautionary parallel. As Enya reveals, quote, "Queen Marika is the vessel of the Elden Ring, carrier of its vision, a god in truth, but after the Elden Ring's shattering, she was imprisoned in the Erd Tree, a grim punishment for the shattering of order, despite her godhood. The fingers speak. Marika's trespass demanded a heavy sentence, but even in shackles, she remains a god, and the vision's vessel." End quote. Marika's godhood bound her to the will of order, making her a vessel for its vision rather than her own dreams. Mikola, in full awareness of his mother's failures, sought a different path. By defying his fate to become Trina and refusing to carry the vision of order, he hoped to forge an entirely new world, a god of an age of kindness. Returning to the young lion, Radahn's conquest of the stars was no mere act of aggression or dominance in service to order, nor was it solely an effort to protect Celia. Instead, it was an expression of his deep compassion and devotion to his family. As the beloved brother of Mikola, Radahn bore an immense weight upon his shoulders with the fate set before him. His mastery of gravitational magic was not motivated by his personal ambitions, but his tender wish to remain alongside his frail horse, Leonard, where another warrior would have discarded him for a stronger steed. This simple act of kindness, born of love for a companion, speaks volumes about Radahn's perspective and was a core element that enchanted tarnished warriors near and far. A man whose strength was matched only by his character. From the cut description of the long-tailed cat talisman, we learn further hints toward Radahn's gentle nature. A brooch depicting a long-tailed cat, known to be the beloved pet of General Radahn, reduces fall damage. This black cat was known to have enjoyed jumping down from great heights. It would leap from the great bell tower of Raya Lucaria as a kitten, and, once fully grown, from the great heavenward roots that twisted through the Erd Tree capital skies, showing us that Lacrima was never far during the golden years with his family. Even in his tragic decline into madness, his love and loyalty endured. As conqueror of the stars, he held firm against the forces that sought to shape his family's fate, his defiance a testament to his unyielding resolve. Radahn's conquest was not for glory or ambition, as Freya would have us believe. It was an act of desperation and love. By holding back the stars themselves, he sought to buy his family precious time to break free from the suffering imposed upon them by fate. Radahn's triumph over the heavens stands as both a monumental feat of strength and a heartbreaking symbol of compassion, a reminder that even the mightiest of heroes are driven by the most human emotions, love for those they hold dear. Chained by the inescapable march of fate and understood through the stories of her children, Queen Marika emerges as a prisoner of her divine role, a god indeed, but one bound to carry out the vision of order rather than her own. Just as Miquella's fate would lead him to becoming the dreamlike Trina, we can look to Marika's own words to discern the destiny awaiting her. O Radagon, leal hound of the Golden Order, thou art yet to become me. Thou art yet to become a god. Let us be shattered both, mine other self. These enigmatic words, picked over endlessly by the community, reveal Marika's acknowledgement to her intended fate, while also highlighting her attempted defiance against becoming Radagon, a refusal in becoming the loyal hound and servant of order. In this defiance, we see Marika's schemes, complex, non-linear, desperate, born of a desire to reclaim her agency and live according to her own ambitions. Her secret incantation, Minor Erd Tree, further peels back the curtain obfuscating her character. Only the kindness of gold, without order, unveils the depth of her yearning. This incantation conveys her longing for a world of her own make, unshackled by the rigid structures imposed by order or leashed to the design of the gods. Order, as represented by the Elden Beast, is revealed to be the transcendent force behind the divinity of Queen Marika. The Elden Remembrance confirms this. It was the vassal beast of the Greater Will, and living incarnation of the concept of order. Marika, in binding herself to the Elden Beast, became not only the vessel of divine power, but also its prisoner. Her rebellion against order, culminating in the shattering of the Elden Ring, illustrates her refusal to remain its pawn. Through these fragments of her story, Marika emerges not as a deity of unwavering control, but as a deeply tragic figure, one who sought to dismantle the chains of her divine servitude. Her actions were not mere destruction, but a desperate bid for freedom, a longing to replace order with a vision of kindness and autonomy. In resisting her fate, Marika, like her children, sought to carve a path toward liberation, even as the cost of her rebellion shattered the world she sought to heal and drove her surviving children to madness, as claimed by the dry-leaf narrator at the beginning of our tale. Through her designs, there would be just Marika, the one true God. By reading the portents of the stars, we may divine our fates, and through the journey of Miquella, we come to understand his mother and her harrowing plight. Marika, the carrier of Order's vision, was destined to become the leal hound of the Golden Order, a role she resisted at every turn. Through the efforts of the Star Scourge, the Golden lineage gained a fleeting opportunity to prepare, to defy, and to seek freedom from their imposed destinies, though most ultimately succumbed. Bound by the cruel hands of fate and order, Marika orchestrated the events of the game, ensuring the return of the Tarnished in a desperate bid to escape her divine imprisonment. The non-linear nature of her schemes reveals the necessity of such intricate defiance, for Radagon and the Beast of Order loomed ever vigilant. As we have seen through the stories of Ranni and Miquella, the shackles of Empyreanhood run deep, binding those chosen as vessels for the divine to paths they did not choose. Trina's haunting words echo the truth of this burden. Godhood would be Miquella's prison. A caged divinity is beyond saving. We have traced the threads of fate that ensnared Queen Marika, but what of the prison that held her captive? Join us next time as we delve into the chains placed upon the Ascendant Queen, seeking to unravel the constraints that compelled her to such desperate measures. Thank you for joining us on this search for understanding. Struggle, my fellow Tarnished.